Good evening, I'm Russ Riesinger with a look at today's top stories. We are learning more tonight about yesterday's officer-involved shooting in Billings. Billings police say 36-year-old Richard Martinez drove a vehicle at officers before he was shot. It happened around 3 o'clock Tuesday in the 600 block of Claus Circle in the Heights. Lieutenant Brandon Woolley says officers with the Montana Violent Offender Task Force were trying to arrest Martinez on valid warrants. When Martinez drove at the officers, one of them fired. Martinez was treated for a gunshot wound and released from the hospital. He's currently being held at the Yellowstone County Jail. The officer with the U.S. Marshals Service is on paid leave. Today, 17 states asked the U.S. Supreme Court to accept a new lawsuit that's attempting to invalidate Democrat Joe Biden's electoral victory in 4 key states. And Montana is one of them. Montana Attorney General Tim Fox says the odds of the high court accepting the late lawsuit filed by Texas are slim at best. But the Republican AG says the case raises important constitutional questions about the integrity of mail-in ballots in Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. The suit filed this week by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says the 62 electoral votes from those states should be invalidated, thus giving the presidency to Donald Trump. All 17 states asking the Supreme Court to take the case have Republican attorneys general. Many legal experts across the country have said the Texas lawsuit is without merit and that Texas doesn't even have standing to challenge votes in other states. The filing, joined by Montana, was written by Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt. And that's a look at today's top MTN stories. Have a good evening.
Staff at the Alberta Bear Theatre in Billings just received the new keys to their performing arts facility a few weeks ago. About a year and a half's worth of construction and $13 million later, the facility is complete, but it's not quite ready to show off to the public. The COVID-19 pandemic dashed dreams of a grand opening night in 2020. But for all intents and purposes, the theater is ready for a show once group gathering restrictions are relaxed. The stunning renovations added more room for guest mingling on both the first and second floors, bigger bathrooms on both levels, and the welcome addition of an elevator to make the second floor handicap accessible. Another addition that can be seen from the street are the huge windows that surround the perimeter of the building, allowing for plenty of natural light and a peek at whatever event is happening inside.
The thought behind the design and the openness was we wanted light in here, but more importantly, not only the people enjoying the show being able to see out, but those outside being able to see in and see that something is happening downtown when the theater's lit up and people are in here.
The stage and audience seating got a facelift as well, with 1,400 brand new seats, new lighting and sound equipment, and the construction of new baffles on the walls to better direct sound in the space. Of the $13.6 million in renovations, Dietrich said half went into new theater technology, and the other half went to building infrastructure.
It's amazing. I've had people say, it makes me want to dress up again. I've had people say, you're going to wow the community. The sound is going to be excellent. It's just the feel in the building and the experience that you'll receive will be wonderful.
Dietrich said there's still $250,000 left to raise to completely cap off the new renovation. Staff are selling the rights to put your name on the armrest of one of the theater seats in an effort to raise the remaining money. Staff have some soft opening events scheduled for donors in May of next year. Dietrich said theater staff are expecting to welcome guests for performances in the fall of 2021, barring any COVID-19 related complications. In Billings, Mitch Slag, MTN News.
For decades, this slag pile has been a fixture of the East Helena landscape, but in 5 years it could look far different. Leaders say a New York company has agreed to remove 2 million tons of the slag and ship it out to be reprocessed. The EPA and Montana Environmental Trust Group announced the plans during a public meeting Tuesday night. Metallica Commodities will crush the slag on site, then send it by train to Longview, Washington, and from there to South Korea by ship. A Korean company will extract zinc and other metals and use the leftover material for cement.
It's really a full, ultimate recycling project.
Cleanup work at the smelter site has been going on for years, and the slag pile is one of the last main areas to be addressed. Leaders say they've already seen improvements in groundwater quality around East Helena, and the slag that will be removed is the largest remaining source of selenium contamination.
For us, this is really a source removal project. It's a project to remove primary source of contamination that's still out there.
The material that's moved will only be a fraction of the pile's volume, but it could reduce its height by around half.
That's always been something important to the city of East Helena. So there will be a visible change in the landscape in East Helena.
The trust group is also highlighting other plans for the smelter site, from progress toward a greenway trail system to new housing developments on surrounding parcels. Leaders say Montana Rail Link is already working on a new siding to reach the project area. They expect the first shipment of slag to go out next spring. In East Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
A new offer is on the table from the White House for a second stimulus bill. This one would send a $600 payment to most Americans. The catch is that it would eliminate a $300 per week unemployment boost for people still without work. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell promises not to adjourn the Senate until the stimulus bill is passed. The UK is warning people with a significant history of allergic reactions to not get the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. 2 health workers who received a COVID-19 vaccine during the first day of rollout in the UK on Tuesday suffered allergic reactions. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention typically advises telling a provider if you have any severe, life-threatening allergies before taking any vaccine. Pfizer and BioNTech have said there are no serious safety concerns. China's experimental Sinopharm vaccine showed 86% effectiveness against COVID-19. That's according to the United Arab Emirates Health Ministry. The UAE government says that the results showed no safety concerns with the vaccine. Its emergency use for frontline workers was approved in September. The trial included 31,000 volunteers across 125 nationalities in the UAE.
Congress returned to work after the Thanksgiving holiday with 2 major things on its plate: pass a budget bill to avoid a government shutdown and get to work on another stimulus bill they've been talking about for months. With so many people hoping for a stimulus check this Christmas time, we took a look at the likelihood of one getting passed. Like so many millions of Americans,
we're all making adjustments.
Ryan Nicely wants nothing more than to wash himself clean of this year.
I had some bad moments.
In March, he lost his job bartending, found a new one, but after the most recent round of shutdowns, has been relegated to working 5 hours a week.
No matter your amount of resolve,
it has left him here.
It's not enough sometimes if the entire deck is stacked against you.
He's in the only apartment he could find for under $1,000 a month, swiping his credit card to keep food on the table as he waits for unemployment to carry him through the congressional latency period we find ourselves in right now.
There's so many different things that could easily be changed just a little bit to give us just that one step up to get ahead a little bit.
Since the CARES Act pumped more than $2 trillion into the U.S. economy in late March, including a $1,200 stimulus check to most Americans, Congress has stumbled to give any sort of meaningful relief to those who need it.
It's really pretty simple. It's not really about substance. It's all about politics.
Harold Gleckman is a fiscal policy expert at the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center and says Democrats and Republicans have failed to agree on where the money should go. Republicans want a smaller package, while Democrats want a larger one that gives money to cities who have been hit by declining tax revenue.
Look, Americans could hardly be more cynical about government and its inability to act. And this was a classic example.
The Economic Policy Institute estimates between now and 2022, $2 trillion in relief is needed, with an additional $400 billion annually through the end of 2024. Despite those numbers, Gleckman says he thinks the prospect of a new bill with stimulus checks is bleak at best until President-elect Joe Biden is sworn into office on January 20th.
I think the best bet is that they'll make an effort at this. They will fail sometime in the next week or so. Probably the last minute on December 10th, Congress will pass a budget bill and then go home.
For Ryan, it's another letdown.
It's not like I need a lot or even want a lot.
Empty words, as he says, from people who he thinks have given folks like him far too many already.
I just want, more than anything, to be represented by people that understand.
I'm Dan Grossman reporting.
Grocery stores across the country are still busier than ever, but why are jobs in places that help get food to your table going unfilled? Feeding the country during a pandemic is no short order. In fact, it's an incredibly tall one, stacked 60 feet high in warehouses across the country.
Our biggest challenge is keeping everybody safe.
That is Mike Violet. He's the CEO at Associated Grocers of New England.
Thank you very much for all that you've done.
We first met Mike back in March when Americans were buying food in record numbers.
Grabbing yams right now, it's just one pace, you know.
Workers in this warehouse could barely keep up. Shelves sat empty as suppliers couldn't keep up with demand for everything from paper towels to flour.
What we saw last March, you won't see that now. You know, the paper manufacturers have changed their lines and how they're producing and what they're producing.
Demand for groceries across the country is still up nearly 20% over this time last year. There are random shortages for things like glass mason jars.
People are cooking. People are eating at home and they're cooking. A lot of people learned to cook from last March forward and they enjoy cooking more and they're doing more of it.
This time around, though, Mike and other grocers are urging Americans to avoid panic buying as some states reimpose COVID restrictions.
There's really no need to just stock up. There'll be plenty of product. The food supply is very, very strong. And by people just stocking up, it just makes it harder for others to get products and makes people have more frequent stops to have to go to the store.
There's something else they've noticed here. Even with near record numbers of Americans looking for work, they're having trouble filling jobs. Warehouses and factories across the country have noticed similar trends. Part of the reason, workers are concerned about catching COVID and not filling open positions. Starting pay for a job here, though, is around $15 an hour. It comes with health care benefits and paid time off. But this is not the kind of job that can be done from home. And there's this.
I think a lot of it is the type of work that it is. It involves some heavy lifting to work in the warehouse and selecting cases, so it can be hard work.
But all that aside, these men and women will keep working to keep grocery stores' shelves stocked, to keep America fed during the pandemic. In Pembroke, New Hampshire, I'm Chris Conti.
Virginia is in a new age where it can legally remove Confederate monuments. While Charlottesville is still in the legal process of removing the controversial General Lee Monument, 6 other rural counties voted to keep them in place. Before this year, local governments were prohibited under state law from removing Confederate statues in Virginia.
And so those statues have stood now for a century in many places. And so communities have been looking to remove those statues. And in some states, like Virginia, state law prevented that removal. And so we have, in this state, worked very hard to change that law, which we did in February.
Here in Charlottesville, advocates like Kristen Kazakos and Jelaine Schmidt have been trying to get rid of the Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson monument for years due to controversial problems.
Tensions remain high in Charlottesville one day after a white nationalist rally turned violent.
Yeah, so we're now in a new legal situation than we were, even 5-6 months ago, here in Virginia. Because we now can have the sort of conversations, different, communities at a local level to decide, and consider, what to do with public space.
Even though the state passed a bill that allowed local governments to remove these memorials, and Charlottesville made that decision, these statues remain until an official ruling from the Virginia Supreme Court.
And a local judge issued an injunction saying that Charlottesville could not remove them. And so the city has appealed that. The state Supreme Court has heard that appeal and will issue its ruling any day now.
But this bill gave local governments the authority to hold ballot referendums to give voters a chance to weigh in before taking action.
And each community is, it has, their statues have a different history. There's, kind of different demography, demographic makeup of different communities, different ways of thinking about these things, So different communities are going to reach different decisions.
6 counties this past election voted to keep the Confederate monuments located at their courthouses. 1 county even voted by 87%. While places like Charlottesville will get rid of its monuments, the city of Virginia Beach won't.
We decided that maybe we needed to tell the story of both sides. One of the conversation was, if we tear it down, then what?
Virginia Beach decided to keep the statue, but want to add context to it by possibly adding more signs and historic facts.
But it's also an important piece of history so that we know where we've come from, where we don't want to go in the future.
There had been an effort on the part of student activists and some professors too to have more recognition of the historical fact that it was enslaved workers who built the University of Virginia.
But while Charlottesville waits for the decision to remove Confederate monuments, a new memorial dedicated to slavery was recently finished.
What you see here is, kind of the fruition of this process of community engagement.
And Jelaine hopes more monuments like this one will be brought to life in the future. I'm Thomas Hoppo reporting.
Southwest Airlines has warned 6,800 employees they may be furloughed in the spring. If the layoffs do take place, they would be the first in Southwest's 50-year history. The total includes 2,500 ground crew members who handle baggage, cargo, and restocking planes, as well as 1,100 customer service agents. Airlines aren't messing around when it comes to passengers who refuse to wear a mask. Delta has put nearly 700 people on its no-fly list for refusing to comply with the company's mask policy. The new figure is an increase from last month. The airline started mandating masks on flights in early May. All major carriers now require passengers to wear a mask. McDonald's Happy Meals could soon get more expensive. The fast food chain is scrapping a decades-old deal with its franchisees, subsidizing the price of Happy Meal toys. Starting in 2021, McDonald's will stop issuing the roughly $300 monthly contribution to its U.S. restaurants. The chain said the subsidy isn't fueling growth in the way it used to.
Good evening, everyone. Bob McGuire here at the Q2 Weather Center. Billings, well, I'll tell you what, another warm day today. Temperatures got way up into the 60s, and boy, it is still not a bad night tonight at all. Let me show you what's happening. Doppler radar shows you some scattered rain and snow showers up in the northwestern part of the state and also up across the High Line. But even though these showers look like they're coming this way, the jet stream is coming this way, and it continues to just any system that comes our way before it gets to the Billings area is kind of whisked away. So here's what we had. A cold front actually push on through the region tonight, and things are starting to cool down a little bit. But watch what happens. The snow showers, they just kind of fall apart. High pressure moves in behind that. For tomorrow, looking at partly cloudy skies throughout much of the day on Thursday. Then on Friday, here comes another weather system producing some scattered snow showers moving in from the southwest. So what does that mean for us? Well, it looks like tomorrow you'll see morning clouds, but then maybe some afternoon sunshine and back up to 40 degrees on Thursday. Then on Friday, partly cloudy skies, but that night we have a 30% chance for some snow showers moving in at 34 degrees. 35 on Saturday and a 20% chance for snow. I think we'll keep it in the 30s all the way through the rest of the week. And that's the weather.
COVID-19 has forced families across the country to be even more reliant on the internet for work and school. Yet for many tribal communities, COVID-19 has exposed just how deep and crippling the digital divide is. For 7-year-old Jaden Zima and his mother Mirna, online school hasn't been easy.
We don't have the internet lines up here. We don't really get connection here, so it's kind of like hard for them.
For most living on the Hopi Reservation in Arizona, reliable internet access is hard to come by.
We don't have the poles or anything for our internet and stuff. So that's why they gave us the hotspot boxes to use.
During the pandemic, parents like Mirna are relying on the tribal schools for the equipment their children need to log on to class. And while it's been helpful sometimes, it's not enough.
It's frustrating because they have their laptops that they have to work on now, and it kind of like knocks off the connection here. Then they're like trying to listen to their teacher to let them know what they need to do and stuff.
It's not a problem that just started with COVID. It's a problem that existed before, but the reality is COVID shined a light on it like nobody's business.
With COVID-19 numbers soaring again in tribal communities, reliable internet is a lifeline. Without it,
it really hobbles tribes in their ability to continue to be self-sustaining, whether it's economic development and banking, health, energy, education. It is that underpin. It's that thing that ties it all together and makes it all possible.
Only 30% of Hopi households have an internet subscription compared to 82% in the state of Arizona. Nationwide, tribal communities are some of the least connected in the country. Timothy Nabanyama is chairman of the Hopi tribe.
You see where we are geographically. It's not an easy place to build out infrastructure. Challenges with broadband connectivity, internet connectivity is very unstable out here.
He says COVID-19 has worsened the digital divide on the reservation, and students are being the most impacted, especially for those who live in villages with no electricity or infrastructure.
Now you have the pandemic, and there's that essential need to have internet at home, especially if you have, students in your home. And, we have those same parents that are at home that need to telework also.
Albin Naha is superintendent of Hopi Junior Senior High School.
Fortunately for a lot of our schools out here, we have really strong internet and Wi-Fi here. It's typically stronger than what you would see out in the community of what they're receiving.
The school's parking lot also serves as one of 2 public hotspot locations on the reservation where residents can access free Wi-Fi. The tribe is using part of its $92 million in CARES Act monies to expand internet access, but the deadline for spending that money is December 30th.
And after I'm done with my homework, I go play.
While Jaden is doing better with online school, for his mom,
I just wish this virus would go away so they can go back to school.
Angela Hill,
Volunteers in Cleveland, Ohio are bringing TLC to worn-down Little Free libraries. After 5 years, the boxes have shown some wear and tear.
We matched up the Little Free library maps to the actual physical libraries. There were some discrepancies. We tried to fix those, and we noted the condition of each of the Little Free libraries. We filled them up.
The volunteers are also reaching out to each library's owner to see who could use a helping hand with keeping them up. One ranch near Denver, Colorado found a way to give old campaign signs a new life. Carrie Donovan uses them to build shelters for her animals during the winter.
This is my bull badger, and this will be a windbreak for him for the winter.
She uses the smaller yard signs to protect her vegetable garden from the wind. With the pandemic making Santa's lap off limits this season, kids might wonder how are they supposed to let him know what they want for Christmas? 2 sisters in Baltimore, Maryland are trying to help. They started a virtual program called Groove Kids with Santa.
They'll ask for their child's wishes, some accomplishments, their name, birthday, things like that, and we'll send them a customized letter. And then right after that, they'll be directed to the place to schedule a virtual call with Santa.